If you keep missing uploads and feel like you just can't stay consistent on YouTube, this video will help you be consistent. Because I did all of these things, I was able to upload for a week straight for literally 6 months straight, and I grew my channel from 0 to 60,000 subscribers in a small niche. After that, I was able to post shorts every single day on a fresh channel and got it to 1,000 subscribers within 90 days and made $10,000 from it. So the bottom line is consistency is so important. And if you want to be more consistent, then these principles will help you do it. Principle number 1 is to identify your biggest bottlenecks. When I first committed to posting every single week on YouTube, I thought that I just needed to work harder. And the reality is being purposeful will beat out hard work pretty much every single time, because you can always work harder, but it doesn't matter if you don't know what the right things to work hard on are. So what I did to solve this was basically just time track how long it took me to do everything related to making a YouTube video. So I tracked how long it took me to come up with ideas, write titles, create thumbnails, write scripts, and edit the videos. And I personally found that editing was my biggest bottleneck. For you, it could be something else, but I would imagine for 99% of people, editing takes the longest time. But you're going to want to find like a top 3 of things that take you the longest time. So for me, it was editing, script writing, and making the thumbnail. And that's basically just going to give you a top 3 list of priorities to focus on of things that you need to cut down. Now, to cut these down, we're going to move on to principle number 2, which is to remove as much friction as you can. The reason most creators don't post every single week on YouTube is not because things take too long or their videos are too complicated. It's because their workflows have tiny inefficiencies that build up over time. First, rewatching your entire video. I used to be guilty of this. Basically, you edit a part of your video and then you scrub forward to the very beginning and watch the entire thing through. Not worth it. This adds up. Second, rebuilding the same effects time and time again. This is pointless. The second you're creating an effect more than like 2 or 3 times, you need to just make a preset so you save yourself 10 seconds every single time. It adds up. Third, subtitles. You need to be using auto subtitles. If you're doing subtitles manually, that is just a huge waste of time. That is insane. Pretty much every major editing software has auto subtitles. Just Google if you don't know how to do it. Next, script writing. If you're taking a long time to write scripts, what you need to do is instead of writing word for word scripts, start by writing script outlines. This is honestly even better for your delivery because then you're not just reading off of a script like a robot, like that's super boring. Instead, you just have bullet points maybe, and you're just referencing the bullet points and speaking from your mind because you should be an expert on whatever you're talking about anyway. You should also use AI to do this. Personally, I will always just record a quick voice memo on my phone and then tell ChatGPT to turn it into a script outline, which I then record. This takes about like 20 minutes and is much better than writing a script word for word. That used to take me multiple days. For voiceovers, if you mess up a voiceover, you should not stop your voiceover recording, delete, and then record again. You need to just wait. If you mess up, all right, I just messed up there. You wait a second and then you start recording again and then just cut it out later when you're editing. Also use an app called Descript. Basically just import your raw footage into Descript or VoiceOver, and you can actually cut out different words or mistakes that you make throughout your voiceover with the transcript editing feature. So this is able to give you a rough cut super quick. Descript even has AI tools, this video is not sponsored, to automatically remove silences and filler words in your voiceover or footage. When it comes to coming up with your video ideas, titles, and creating your thumbnails, I would just use one of 10. We have an idea generator, a title generator, and a thumbnail generator that creates all of the above based on top viral outlier videos in your niche based off of your channel. It's incredibly data backed. I use it for literally every single video that I work on. And we also use it for many of our clients. So I'd highly recommend you check it out. First link in the description. Next, principle 3 is to set deadlines. There's a very famous law called Parkinson's law, and it's the idea that if you give something a set amount of time to get done, it will get done in that amount of time. Pretty much all hard work is mental. I'm going to give you an example. When I was in middle school or high school and I had an essay due the next day and I started it at 11:15 p.m., I would get it done by 11:59 p.m. that same night in 45 minutes. Versus if I have 7 days to do that same essay, the essay will take me the entire 7 days. You need to be very purposeful with how you are budgeting your time when it comes to making videos. Don't allow yourself to spend more than an hour or 2 on a thumbnail, an hour or 2 on a script, maybe 10 hours on an edit. As long as you are time tracking like we did in principle 1, this should be really easy. Basically, find those bottlenecks, cut them down as much as you can, be as efficient as possible, and then limit yourself to a hard deadline. Something must be done within this set amount of time, and I promise you it will get done. And if you need more help doing this too, I simply would just find an accountability partner. So back when I was starting YouTube, I was business partners with my editor. We would talk every single day, and if I told him I was going to get something done by a certain amount of time, he would hold me to that time. This can also be a friend, family member, spouse, girlfriend, who knows? It doesn't really matter, but having somebody else putting pressure on you to get something done by a certain time is extremely helpful in meeting deadlines. Next, principle number 4 is the batching method. When I was first starting YouTube, I would spend each week making an individual YouTube video. So in a week, I would come up with one idea, a couple titles, one thumbnail, script the video, edit the video, and then post it. It would be like that every single week, which is honestly incredibly inefficient. That is, until I completely changed the way that I make YouTube videos by batching them. And that's when consistently started to feel easy. See, there's this concept called context switching. Basically, if I'm coming up with an idea and then I have to make a thumbnail and then I have to write a script and then I have to edit videos, I'm context switching each time. It's hard for me to get into a flow state where I am most efficient and getting the most work done. On the contrary, if I spend one day coming up with 4 to 8 ideas for the month, let's say, then the next day I make all the thumbnails, and then the next day I write all the scripts, and finally I edit all the videos, that is much more efficient. I'm able to make more videos, I'm able to make them faster, and I'm able to get into a flow state that is much better than if I were to split it up week by week. What this also allows you to do is make multiple videos in advance, so you're not constantly stressing to, I gotta get that next upload, next upload, next upload. They'll already be done. You'll actually be ahead of schedule. So now if you get sick, maybe you want to go out one day, or something comes up where you just can't work on a YouTube video that day, you're chilling because you've already made multiple videos in advance and batched them. So just like all these other principles, time track, figure out how you can batch stuff all on the same day and be efficient and work your way up. Principle number 5 is to multiply what's already working. Most creators think that to have a video go viral, they need to come up with a fully original concept that nobody has ever done before and they've never done before and make a new video every single time. The reality is top creators are not making original pieces of content every time they post. They are remixing, they are doubling down, and they are clipping. For one of our clients, Callaway, one of the first viral videos we ever had with him was actually not an original idea. It is literally a remake of an underperforming video on his old channel. So we really didn't have to do much reinventing or original stuff. Instead, we simply repackaged it and posted it on a new channel. It ended up getting over 1 million views and bringing in over 70,000 subscribers. Another thing that I've done with a lot of channels I've worked on in the past is instead of making original YouTube shorts, I will take a long YouTube video and actually cut it up into maybe 8 to 10 different YouTube shorts. I'll use Descript or another software for this, but it's super easy. We don't have to make new content. One YouTube video can basically become 10 YouTube shorts, and those YouTube shorts can get posted on Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, maybe Twitter, and then you could even turn each of those YouTube shorts into a written post on Twitter and LinkedIn. So basically one YouTube video becomes 48 pieces of content instead of having to manually make each piece of content. Or when a long form YouTube video does good, you need to simply double down on it. Let's say you make a video about the fastest cars in Germany on your YouTube channel. Well, now your next video should be the fastest cars in France, fastest cars in England. Double down on anything that works so you don't have to spend time coming up with new ideas. The best predictor of future success is past success. So this is very important for your efficiency. Going back to Callaway, we literally did this with this same storytelling video. We made multiple other videos about storytelling on maybe more specific topics, and they also overperformed because the first one did good. So this is very important. You can look at either your channel or you can use a tool like 1of10.com and just look at what other people have done that has gone viral recently and remix it for yourself to make things super easy. All right, principle number 6, automate and delegate. As my channel started growing, eventually I hit a point where I was so efficient that I actually could not get more efficient, but I was still constantly racing against the clock. I wanted to start making a course and a community and do all these other things that made it very hard to also spend a lot of time on YouTube. This is the point where I had to start outsourcing some work. Now, like we talked about before, typically the biggest bottleneck for creators is editing. So honestly, the first hire that I would make as soon as you start making money from YouTube is hiring at least one editor. Ideally, at some point you have like 2 to 4 so that you can batch videos and be super efficient. You can find editors pretty much anywhere. I personally like to use Twitter, but YouTube Jobs, Upwork, and even Fiverr are all good places to find people. But this is honestly the single biggest unlock of your time. I never edit videos anymore myself simply because I do not have the time. I'm running multiple channels. I have different jobs. I do different work. Editing is a huge bottleneck that can easily be outsourced. Other things too, like thumbnails, for example, hiring a thumbnail designer is very easy, or there's AIs like the 1of10 thumbnail generator that can do this for you. But there are also things that should not be outsourced. For example, an on-camera presence presence, you kind of need to be on camera for your channel. I think that's very important. Also, script writing, I think it's hard to outsource. You definitely can, but I also do think it's very important that the content of each video that you make comes from you and not a random person who's not an expert. But any repetitive tasks, editing, thumbnails, etc., you can easily outsource and just hire somebody for once you start to make money. Finally, principle number 7, momentum builds identity. As hard as it can feel to be consistent when you're first starting YouTube, like I remember my first few uploads, it felt very awkward. I didn't like the way I sounded on camera, and it just felt very, very difficult and daunting to constantly do this week in, week out. However, as you do actually start to post every week or post a short every day and just be consistent, it actually gets much, much easier from my experience. At a certain point, it just felt like I was always lockstep. Like it was just the default next thing to do was work on a script, work on a thumbnail, create a video. I got faster, I got better, and I got more confident in myself to make being consistent very, very easy. So for you, simply trust the process, do all of these things to make your workflow more efficient so you can actually hit deadlines, slowly outsource to free up your time, and continue to build your own confidence. As hard as it can seem, I promise you, as you do this more and more, all it takes is reps and you will get better. Now, if you want to work with our team directly on your channel, just like dozens of other big creators, then check out the first link in the description. And if you want to use oneof10.com, there's a link to get 20% off right under it. Check out this video next.